Hello everyone, and welcome to my Young and the Restless official 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Chelsea pushes Adam too far in Sharon's Nick shocker. According to Friday, August 15 spoilers for the Young and the Restless, Chelsea Lawson pushes Adam Newman too far, and Sharon Newman will have to deal with a stunner from Nick Newman. Nick will join Sharon at Crimson Lights and might even confess to being Victor Newman's recruit. Victor wants Nick to be friends with Kane Ashby and persuade him that the Newmans consider him a formidable opponent. Nick still hates Kane, of course, but he'll put up a front to keep his family safe. Sharon could be a little surprised by the anticipated result, as the intention is to divert Kane's attention from Chancellor and assist him in pursuing Jabbo instead. Sharon won't be happy about his family business being targeted because Jack Abbott is a fine man and a friend. Sharon could feel a little uneasy about Nick's willingness to sacrifice the Abbotts for the Newmans. According to Y&R spoilers, Sharon will see a surprise side of Nick, so after she learns about his most recent news, she might not agree. Chelsea will continue to protect Billy Abbott, therefore Adam won't be pleased with her actions either. Adam will become irritated and lash out when Chelsea pushes him too hard. Adam would believe Chelsea should quit acting like Billy is some innocent party and truly embrace Team Newman. But things get difficult when it comes to Billy, who, if everything goes according to plan, plans to be an insider and shield Jabbo from Kane. It is inevitable that Kane and Billy will be mentioned when Adam and Chelsea encounter Nick and Sharon at the coffee shop. Lastly, Kane will promise Lily Winters that she will wait for his response about the offer she is putting up. In exchange for Kane telling her the complete truth about his return to Genoa City, Lily is willing to assist in telling the twins about his secret existence. According to teasers for The Young and the Restless, Kane will try to gain Lily's trust by making a strong vow, even if he doesn't make a complete confession right away. The late afternoon light spilled in through the tall windows of Crimson Lights, casting warm streaks across the polished tables as Sharon Newman arranged a tray of fresh muffins. The bell over the door jingled, and in walked Nick Newman, his expression somewhere between fatigue and calculation. Sharon immediately noticed it, the same look he used to wear when Victor had roped him into something he didn't want to do. She'd seen it on him more times than she could count, and it never ended well. "Hey," she greeted, her voice carrying both warmth and the faint edge of concern. Nick stepped up to the counter, bypassing his usual easy banter, and ordered his coffee in a low voice. Once they sat down, Sharon leaned forward slightly. "All right," she said. "What's going on? And don't tell me nothing, because I know that look." Nick hesitated, rolling his coffee cup between his hands before finally letting out a sigh. "Victor's been persuasive again," he admitted, his tone almost resigned. "He wants me to get close to Kane Ashby. Pretend like we're friends." Sharon raised her eyebrows, surprised by the choice of target. "Friends with Kane? Since when do you two even tolerate each other?" Nick gave a dry chuckle. "We don't. I still can't stand the guy. But Victor thinks if I can convince Kane the Newmans see him as a formidable opponent, it'll distract him from Chancellor. The plan is to nudge him toward Jabbo instead." Sharon's lips pressed into a thin line as the implications sank in. "So you want him going after Jack's company instead of Chancellor?" "Nick, I know," he cut in, leaning back with a frustrated groan. "It's not exactly noble. But Victor thinks it's the safest move for the family. If Kane's busy fighting Jack, he's not circling Chancellor like a shark." Sharon shook her head slowly. "Jack is a good man. He's been a friend to both of us for years. I don't like the idea of sacrificing him just to protect your own turf." Her disappointment was clear, and Nick felt a pang of guilt. "You think I like this?" he shot back, softer than he intended. "I don't. But sometimes in this family, you play along to keep the bigger problems from blowing up." Sharon studied him carefully, noticing the way his jaw tightened when he talked about Victor's orders. "It's not just about playing along, Nick. It's about who you become in the process." Before he could respond, the bell above the door rang again, and in walked Adam Newman, looking tense. Right behind him came Chelsea Lawson, her stride determined and her eyes locked on Adam as if she'd been chasing him for blocks. "Adam, just listen to me," Chelsea insisted, her tone sharp but pleading. Adam didn't even slow his pace until they were practically in the middle of the coffee shop, where he finally turned to face her. You've made your position clear, Chelsea. You want to protect Billy, fine. But don't expect me to play along. Chelsea crossed her arms. Billy's not the monster you're making him out to be. He's trying to keep Jabbo safe. Adam's laugh was bitter, cutting her off. Safe from who? Kane. Because last I checked, Kane isn't the only threat in this town. And you defending Billy like he's some innocent Boy Scout is getting old. The tension between them was thick enough to draw glances from nearby tables, including Nick and Sharon's. Sharon's gaze shifted between them, curiosity piqued, while Nick stayed quiet, sensing Adam was about to blow. Adam took a step closer to Chelsea, lowering his voice but not his intensity. If you're so worried about Billy, maybe you should just admit you care more about him than about the Newman family. Chelsea's eyes flashed. That's not fair, and you know it. This isn't about loyalty to family, it's about doing what's right. Adam's jaw tightened, the muscle twitching as he fought to keep his tone measured. Doing what's right, he repeated with mockery. In case you forgot, Billy's idea of doing what's right usually ends with him double-crossing someone. And you? You're just giving him more ammunition to work from the inside. Chelsea didn't back down. Maybe that's exactly what's needed. If Billy's in the middle of it, he can keep Kane from tearing Jabbo apart. Adam exhaled sharply, clearly done with the conversation. Fine. You want to believe in him, go ahead. But don't come crying to me when he screws you over. Again. He turned, spotting Nick and Sharon nearby, and stiffened. Well, isn't this cozy? Adam said, his eyes narrowing slightly. Family meeting. Or did I just interrupt something more strategic? Nick kept his expression neutral. Just coffee. But Adam's gaze flicked between them like he knew better. Sure. Coffee. And maybe a little planning session about how to handle Kane. Sharon bristled. Adam, save it. Adam said, holding up a hand. If you're both involved in whatever Victor's cooking up, I'll figure it out sooner or later. Chelsea stepped in before Adam could push further. This isn't the place. Adam gave her a look of exasperation. You're right. Because in public, everyone still pretends they're not stabbing each other in the back. With that, he brushed past them, Chelsea following reluctantly, their argument far from over. The moment they left, Sharon turned to Nick. See? This is what happens when you get caught up in all of this scheming. It doesn't just hurt enemies, it tears apart families. Nick ran a hand over his face, feeling the weight of her words. Before he could answer, the door opened again and Kane Ashby walked in, exuding the kind of quiet confidence that always made Nick's blood pressure spike. He didn't notice Nick and Sharon right away, heading straight for the counter to place an order. But as he turned, their eyes met, and an almost imperceptible smirk touched his lips. Nick. Kane greeted smoothly. Didn't expect to see you here. It's a coffee shop, Kane, Nick replied evenly. Not exactly a rare sighting. Kane chuckled and glanced at Sharon. Sharon, he said warmly, though the politeness in his tone didn't quite mask the undercurrent of calculation. Sharon offered a polite nod, resisting the urge to look to Nick for guidance. How's Lily? She asked. Kane's expression softened slightly at the mention of his ex-wife. Actually, I just came from seeing her. She's considering an offer I put together. In exchange for me telling her the full truth about why I'm back in Genoa City, she's willing to help me with the twins. Nick leaned back in his chair, studying Kane's words like they were a puzzle. Full truth, he repeated. Kane smiled faintly, or at least enough to gain her trust. Sharon frowned. Lily deserves the whole story, Kane. Not just enough to get what you want. Kane met her gaze without flinching. And I'll give it to her when the time's right. He glanced at Nick again, his smirk returning. But for now, I've got bigger priorities. The implication hung in the air between them, and Sharon could practically feel Nick bristling beside her. Before Nick could fire back, Kane's phone buzzed. He checked the screen, his eyes flickering with some unreadable reaction, then pocketed it again. Anyway, Kane said, stepping back toward the door. I'll let you two enjoy your coffee. I have a feeling we'll be seeing more of each other soon. With that, he was gone, leaving behind a trail of tension thick enough to choke on. Sharon exhaled slowly. If that's what Victor's plan looks like in action, I don't like it one bit. Nick stared at the door for a moment longer before answering. Neither do I. But like I said, sometimes you play along to keep worse things from happening. Sharon shook her head, sipping her coffee but not tasting it. The thing is, Nick, with people like Kane, playing along usually means you're the one getting played. Sharon's warning still hung in the air long after Kane's exit, but Nick didn't respond immediately. He was watching the door, almost as if expecting Kane to reappear with another parting shot. When he finally turned back to her, his voice was lower, more guarded. You think I don't see it? I know Kane's not exactly trustworthy, but if Victor's plan works, at least it buys us time. Sharon shook her head slowly. Time for what, Nick? More manipulation? More lies? Kane doesn't need much of an excuse to go after people, and now you're giving him one wrapped in Newman approval. Nick wanted to argue, but before he could, his phone buzzed with a text. He glanced at the screen, his jaw tightening. It's from Victor. He wants an update. Sharon's brow furrowed. Already? You just talked to him this morning. That's Victor, Nick muttered, standing up. Always 2 steps ahead, always impatient. He placed a hand on her shoulder briefly. I'll talk to you later. And, try not to worry too much, okay? Sharon gave a humorless smile. That's like telling me not to breathe. Meanwhile, across town, Chelsea caught up to Adam outside the Newman Media building, grabbing his arm before he could disappear inside. Adam, we're not finished, she said firmly. He turned, eyes cold but voice deceptively calm. Yes, we are. You've made your choice, Chelsea. You've picked your side. I haven't picked any side, she shot back, her voice rising. I'm just trying to keep you from doing something reckless that'll blow up in your face and maybe hurt Billy in the process. Adam's gaze hardened. Billy doesn't need your protection. He's not some helpless kid. And if you think I'm going to step aside just because you feel some moral obligation to him, you're wrong. Chelsea crossed her arms, refusing to be intimidated. And if you think Kane is the bigger threat than you are, you're wrong. You're walking into this with blinders on, Adam. You're so focused on making Kane pay that you can't see the bigger picture. Adam's laugh was short, humorless. I see the bigger picture just fine. Kane's making moves, Billy's posturing like he's some corporate savior, and you, he broke off, shaking his head as if the rest wasn't worth saying. Chelsea's tone softened slightly. And me what? You're so busy trying to save everyone else, you've forgotten who you really are, Adam said quietly. You used to understand that sometimes you have to play dirty to survive. Before Chelsea could respond, the lobby doors opened, and Billy Abbott himself stepped out, clearly having overheard at least part of their exchange. Wow, Billy drawled. You two really should get a podcast. Call it How to Lose Friends and Alienate Each Other. Adam's eyes narrowed. What are you doing here? Business, Billy replied with a grin that was anything but friendly. Or maybe I just enjoy watching you squirm when Chelsea disagrees with you. Chelsea quickly stepped between them. Billy, not now. But Billy's smirk only deepened. Why not? It's not like Adam's going to back down from a good verbal sparring match. Adam took a step forward, voice low and dangerous. Careful, Billy. You keep poking at me, and you're going to regret it. Billy's response was equally quiet, equally loaded. You can't regret something you're ready for. At that exact moment, Kane was settling into a private corner booth at Society, his phone already in hand. When the call connected, his tone was businesslike. Lily, I've been thinking about your offer. On the other end, Lily Winter's voice was steady but laced with caution. And I think we can work something out, Kane said. But you're going to have to meet me halfway. Lily frowned, leaning against her kitchen counter as she listened. Halfway, Kane? I'm already offering to help you tell the twins the truth about where you've been. That's not nothing. No, it's not, Kane admitted. But if you really want me to open up, you have to promise not to run to Devon or anyone else with what I tell you, at least not until I say it's okay. Lily hesitated. That's a lot to ask. So is asking me to lay my cards on the table, Kane replied evenly. You know I wouldn't be back in Genoa City if it wasn't important. Lily's silence stretched long enough for Kane to sip his drink and glance toward the bar, where Abby Newman was chatting with a waiter. Finally, Lily said, "All right. But if I find out you've been lying to me again." "You won't," Kane said quickly, perhaps too quickly. "We'll meet tomorrow. Neutral ground. I'll text you the location." Back at Crimson Lights, Sharon was wiping down the counter when Adam returned alone this time. She stiffened, sensing the tension radiating from him. "You look like you're ready to explode," she remarked. "Chelsea." "Chelsea," Adam confirmed, sinking into a stool. "She's still clinging to this fantasy that Billy Abbott is worth saving. And I'm the bad guy for pointing out he's just as dangerous as Kane." Sharon folded her arms, leaning on the counter. Maybe she's not wrong to see some good in Billy. People can surprise you. Adam met her gaze with a faint smirk. "Like Nick? Did he surprise you today?" Sharon's eyes narrowed slightly. "You've been eavesdropping again." Adam didn't deny it. "Let's just say I have my ways. And if Nick thinks cozying up to Kane is going to end well, he's even more naive than I thought." Unbeknownst to them, Kane was already putting phase 1 of his counter-strategy in motion. He had a meeting scheduled that evening, with none other than Billy Abbott. They met at the far end of the athletic club bar, where privacy was more likely to be respected. Billy arrived first, nursing a drink and tapping his fingers against the glass. Kane slid into the seat beside him without preamble. "You got my message?" "I did," Billy said, not bothering with small talk. "So what's this about?" Kane leaned in slightly. "I know the Newmans are trying to bait me into going after Jabbo. And I know you're the one standing in my way." Billy's brows lifted. "Standing in your way? That's generous. More like keeping you from making a bigger mess than you already have." Kane chuckled. "We both know Jabbo isn't your only concern. You're worried about the Chancellor situation, too." Billy didn't answer, which was answer enough. "Look," Kane continued, "I'm not saying we're on the same side. But we might be able to coexist if we set some boundaries." Billy eyed him warily. "Boundaries like what?" "Like me staying out of Jabbo if you stay out of my business with Chancellor," Kane said. "In return, I'll keep the Newmans busy enough that they won't have time to meddle in your affairs." Billy considered it, swirling the amber liquid in his glass. "Tempting. But I've learned the hard way that making deals with you usually comes with fine print I can't see until it's too late." Kane smirked. "Then maybe it's time you learn to read the fine print faster." While that uneasy conversation played out, Nick was back at Newman Enterprises, standing in Victor's office with a mix of irritation and reluctant respect for his father's foresight. Victor listened quietly as Nick relayed his encounter with Kane. "He's interested," Nick admitted. "Didn't commit to anything, but he didn't shut the door, either." Victor steepled his fingers. "Good. Keep him engaged. Make him believe you're willing to help him, even if you're not." Nick's jaw tightened. "You do realize Sharon's not going to like this. She already thinks I'm selling out the Abbotts." Victor's eyes sharpened. "Sharon is not the one making decisions for this family. You are. And you will do what's necessary to protect our interests." Night fell over Genoa City, but the undercurrents of the day's events only deepened. Lily sat in her living room, staring at her phone after Kane's call. Part of her wanted to believe he was being genuine, but another part whispered that he was still the same man who had blindsided her before. Her thoughts were interrupted by a knock at the door. When she opened it, she found Devon Hamilton standing there, looking concerned. "Hey," Devon said. "You've been quiet lately. Everything okay?" Lily hesitated, torn between keeping Kane's request for secrecy and leaning on her brother for advice. "Yeah, just a lot on my mind," she said finally. "Work stuff. Kids." Devon studied her for a moment but didn't push. "All right. But if something's going on, you know you can tell me." Lily forced a smile. "I know." Elsewhere, Chelsea sat alone in her apartment, replaying her arguments with Adam in her head. Her phone buzzed with a new message, and she frowned when she saw the sender. "Billy Abbott. Need to talk. Urgent." She typed back quickly. "Is this about Adam?" The reply came almost instantly, partly, but also about Kane. Chelsea's pulse quickened. Whatever was brewing between those three men, it was about to get messier and she was right in the middle of it. Across the city, Kane ended his meeting with Billy, satisfied but cautious. As he stepped out onto the quiet street, his phone lit up with another message, this one from an unknown number. It read simply, "I know what you're planning." Kane's eyes narrowed as he scanned the area, suddenly aware that in Genoa City, no scheme stayed secret for long.